Perfect. We are now recording to the cloud. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode, perhaps a special episode, really, of the Robbos Gobcast sports show, the Reading FC version of the podcast. That isn't the Reading FC version of the podcast, Dave. Well, it kind of is, I guess, but we've been set an assignment to do, which you probably would have heard about in the was it Thursday or Friday podcast that they did. Go and check that one out. But we've basically got to form a starting 11 of players who've had a better career since leaving the Majeski Stadium, and there's only one man that I really wanted for the job to kind of form this starting 11 with me. It's David. And David, how are you?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. I've been racking my brains trying to see who we could really fit in this 11 and some of the options that we have. For some positions, we have quite a few options. For other ones, not many. I mean, I was saying to you just before the podcast really started that the grass isn't really greener on the other side for a lot of players who leave Reading. And that's not an arrogant thing, but it's just a fact, really. And it's a shame that some of these players don't go on to better things, but maybe that's a sign of some good decision making in Berkshire, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. So what we're going to do is, because Marcus pretty much set the parameters in terms of we both have to agree on this starting 11, but what I'll also do is we'll include a manager at the end, because I think there's three possible candidates that we can choose from, and seeing as we're probably not going to do a bench, we'll definitely do a starting 11 for this one, and as an addition, a manager. But we'll get started straight away with goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Is there anyone really in your mind that pops out really in terms of goalkeepers who have gone on to have a better career?
I suppose the only one I can think of really is Shaka Hislop. He left Reading in 1995 and went to play in the Premier League for Newcastle United, and I think he played quite a few games for them as their number one. I think it was the 95-96 season. So he's one, possibly Alex McCarthy, perhaps, as another option. I think other than that, I'm not so sure. Federici didn't really play too much. I think he was on loan at Bournemouth at one point, I think, and didn't play overly much. But I think McCarthy and Hislop are the two that I can sort of think of, really.
I think what we'll do is we'll set a limit. I think because I was only born in 2000, I think we'll go from 2000 and then go up to 2021, because otherwise I'm not going to have a clue. Obviously, I've heard of Shaka Hislop and some of the legends at Reading, but some of these players I wouldn't have heard of. So what we'll do is we'll probably go from about 2000-ish. But I've got some players here that I would also like to throw into the mix. I mean, Marcus Hanneman, probably didn't have a better career when he left, but he did have another season or so in the Premier League with Wolves. Jamie Ashdown, just because he didn't really do that much at Reading, from what I've seen, and then he went on to, I think it was Portsmouth that he went on to. So fair play to him for doing that. I guess it's a sort of a Charlie Austin situation where he, didn't really do a lot at Reading, but went on to do some good bits elsewhere. Ben Hamer, I think he played in the Champions League or Europa League for Leicester City at one point. He hasn't had an absolutely glittering career, but he's, at his peak, he's probably done a lot better than us, just as a club in general, in the previous 10 years or so, because we've got to remember that Reading have never really got to Europe, well, certainly not in my lifetime anyway. But I thought I'd throw him into the mix. Federici, as you said, Bournemouth, but didn't. I don't know. I mean, he was here for the 2006-07 season. Obviously, he didn't play a lot, but he didn't really do very much at Bournemouth, and that's the reason why I've got his name down here, but I think his best seasons were probably with us. I mean, in 2012-13 when he was playing quite a bit. I know he was dropped, but he was still in the Premier League twice with Reading, so I kind of left him out. Alex McCarthy, I think, has got to be in there. England cap, regular starter for Southampton. I think he has to start. Maybe he has to be one of the candidates. That I think would need to be included in that one. Now, the thing is, I think Mikel Anderson only made a couple of appearances for Reading. Now, the reason why I include him is because he saved a penalty at Old Trafford against Manchester United. And I think it was in a Europa League tie. I think it was anyway. I'm not sure if many people remember it. It was a couple of years ago now, I think. But he saved a penalty at Old Trafford. So he goes into the mix.
Yeah.
Mannone actually goes into the mix as well because, yes, he's been in the Premier League before us, but he's played a bit for AS Monaco. AS Monaco recently. So that's another candidate that I got to put into the mix there. I mean, we're a bit spoiled for choice on this one. And the final candidate I'm going to do, who's probably a bit more recent, is Martinez, because he's now a regular starter at Aston Villa. And he's won an FA Cup with Arsenal. So I think I forget. Yeah, it's him. I think it's because we didn't expect Martinez to kind of. I know that he had quite a slow progression in his earlier career, and I think that's probably why is that we weren't really expecting him to, and we know that he's quality anyway from his time on loan here. So it was no surprise, and maybe that's the reason why we kind of left him out. But I think for me, straight away, we can cross off Federici and Hanneman. I think their peak was at Reading.
At Reading, yeah, definitely.
Ashdown, I don't think did enough for me. I think I've only included him because he didn't do a lot at Reading. Hamer, you could consider, but I have to say I don't think he gets near McCarthy, who has got an England cap.
Absolutely.
Anderson, I've put him in there because he saved a penalty at Old Trafford and he's played in the Europa League. But still, I mean, I haven't really heard of much about him in recent years, so I can't really put him in there legitimately. Although there's another candidate that later on that we may not have heard much of, but still had a successful career. Mannone, I think for me, because he's played in the Premier League before. Yeah, I think I'd have to rule him out. So for me, I think third place is probably Hamer.
Yeah.
And then I think for me it's between McCarthy and Martinez.
Saying that then,
I think McCarthy's done it a bit longer, but Martinez is won an FA Cup. But McCarthy's got an England cap.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose, what would you say is more prestigious, whatever the word is, winning the FA Cup or playing for your country? But
the thing is, like, you could. The thing is, it would be a bit easier for me if he didn't. If he didn't like start the final or anything. But if Martinez didn't start the final, because you could say that any old fringe player could win an FA Cup, but to actually play for your country is huge, and you could make the argument that McCarthy's done it for longer. But he has a mistake in him, and I mean, the rise of Martinez has been quite meteoric, really, considering the age that he was at when he was at Reading, where he really needs to kick on. And
never really. I don't think anyone really heard of him that much, did they, when he came in the January?
No.
I know I didn't, not really.
I mean, I've heard of him because he played at Championship level before, but you could also make the case McCarthy played in the Premier League for Reading for a bit anyway, until he got injured and Stuart Taylor had to come in. But Martinez hadn't really played in the Prem.
No. Yeah. Only this season, really, isn't it?
But I mean, there's another argument which goes against my other points that McCarthy was a permanent member of the team and Martinez was here for 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's a really tough one, isn't it?
Oh God. Yeah, no.
It's one of those where, if we put McCarthy in there, people will be saying, "Where's Martinez?" And if we put Martinez in there, people will be saying, "Where's Alex McCarthy?" So it's one of those
tricky ones. And I suppose at the end of the day, it's all about opinions, isn't it? And
yep.
But yeah, there's a case for both, really. I suppose.
Yeah.
Well. Oh, this is why I'm not a manager.
I think what I'm going to do is, because a lot of the other players that I've got in mind are loanees, I would probably have Alex McCarthy.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking across the back line, there's a couple of players in there that are definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
They were from loan clubs. So I'm going to put, I would go with McCarthy, but what are you going to go with?
I suppose, like, it is a tough one, but like you said before, and that's what sort of made me think, he's done it for longer. He's more sort of like, he's been at Southampton for a good few years now, I think. And then he play apart from with Reading, didn't he play in the Premier League with somebody else as well? Or am I sort of off?
Queen's Park Rangers. Wait, McCarthy, yeah. Queen's Park Rangers, I think.
Oh yeah, he moved. And were they in the Premier League when they signed him? I think he might have been, wasn't he?
Yeah, because they got back up, I think, after 2012-13 when they got relegated with us. I think they may have got back up, but I'm not sure if. But surely he wouldn't move from the Championship to the Championship.
No, that's yeah. So yeah, he probably has played for them in the Premier League, because I think, didn't they win that playoff game against Derby? Was that 14 or something, or 2014?
Yeah. It's a more last minute.
That's right. Yeah, so it's probably then actually.
So difficult though, isn't it? Because Martinez didn't really play in the Premier League before, and then he's had a fantastic career. But I'm going to go with McCarthy just because there's a couple of lone players in there that I would probably put in there in defence and that.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with McCarthy.
McCarthy? Okay, we'll have Alex McCarthy in there. Left back for me, I think I've got two candidates in there, and I think, unless I'm forgetting anyone, I've got two candidates. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one as well. You go first, it's fine.
Okay, so the first one that I've got is Bertrand.
Yes.
So who's your second one?
Oh no, he was the only one I thought of, I suppose. I suppose Nicky Shorey, but I think Bertrand. Oh really? I've
got Shorey in there because he played for Aston Villa, but didn't he get both England caps with Reading? He certainly got his first England cap with Reading because he played against Brazil. And I think it might have been the first game at Wembley Stadium. I think it was the first game at Wembley Stadium, and I think
it could be.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he played against Brazil. I'm sure he did, because I was thinking Nicky Shorey against Brazil. It's a bit of a mad one, really. But I think for me, Bertrand has to go in there because he's played for his country, he scored for his country. I think it was against Malta that he scored a few years ago, or a couple of years ago anyway. And for me, he has to be in there.
He was the first name to my mind, to be honest. So I'll totally agree with Bertrand. If that's what that's what you want, Bertrand as well, then I'm well happy.
Right backs. I've got three or four people that I could name. Okay. First one is Jack Stacey, because he played last season quite a lot in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
I've got, not for footballing reasons, but I've got John Halls because he was like, I think he still is, a model for like Armani and other brands like that, which is pretty decent, to be fair. I have Liam Rosenior. Now, he played in the Premier League before with Fulham, and I think we did a swap deal with Sol Ki-hyun, or it was basically on the same day, because I remember
it was a January transfer window, wasn't it? I think
might have been, yeah, because I remember both players pretty much moving at the same time. Now, I quite like Sol, but I think we were all quite excited at the prospect of seeing Rosenior, who was, I think he was, England under 21s at the time, and was a right back in the absence of players like Graham Murty. So fair play. I'd have Rosenior in there. I'm not sure if, I think Matthew Connolly might have played in the Premier League for Cardiff after leaving us, but I mean, I don't know if I would include him in that one. But the fact is, Rosenior also started. Do you remember the FA Cup final against Arsenal for Hull, where Hull went 2-1 and Arsenal got it back to 3-2?
That's right.
He started the FA Cup final, Rosenior. But the thing is, Jack Stacey moved. I think it was in a January transfer window when Bournemouth were in the Premier League, and he played like 20 times, I think, that season. And we all knew that Stacey had the potential to go on and be very good, but we weren't expecting him to go straight from was it Luton or someone straight to, I think it was League One to Premier League. So fair play to him for doing that. And the thing that makes me want to pick Stacey as well, because there's a lot more to come. I think he's only like 24, 25 still. So and Rosenior is now an assistant coach at Derby. So I think, I'm leaning towards Jack Stacey, but there's probably someone who we've missed. But I'm trying to think of right backs over the years. We've got Chris Gunter, who's gone to Charlton, Stephen Kelly, who didn't do that much after he left Reading. Let's be honest.
Andy Griffin,
yeah, didn't do much after he left.
No, it's just a name that just popped into my head. That's all.
Yeah. Sean Cummings didn't do a lot. He moved to Millwall, I think.
That's right.
After that, Murty was pretty much knackered by the time he'd left Reading.
Yeah, to be fair, he'd been with a good few years.
Yeah, he had been.
His peak was...
I can't remember who was there between Murty. Well, obviously Rosenior. Did Andy Griffin come in for Rosenior?
I think Andy Griffin came in I think he came in on loan because he was in the 2011 final against Swansea. He played that one. So
I remember him and Ian Hart were just so slow that day up against the likes of Sinclair and Barini. Oh, that was a nightmare. That was an absolute nightmare in the first half, especially. But I think Cummings though probably came in for a senior, because I remember. I think he came from Chelsea, Sean Cummings.
Yeah, he did.
And as I said, he didn't do very much after he left Reading. He went to Millwall, but it's not very good, is it, really? No, going to Millwall. That's probably the worst thing you can do. So we've probably missed a right back out here that probably went on to have a much better career, maybe even in the earlier years. But I'd probably have to go leaning towards either Rosenior or Jack Stacey. I'd probably have Stacey because he hadn't played in the Premier League before like Rosenior had. But obviously he's only for one season, Jack Stacey. But he's with a side now that has been recently relegated from the Premier League and has the potential now to go back up. He's had the experience of Premier League football. He was actually released by Reading. I don't think he was even offered a contract. I think he was released. I don't think we got very much for him, if anything. So I think for me, Stacey, because he's a right back as well now, I think I'm going to go with Jack Stacey. But what would you go with?
Well, obviously you were saying about going a bit further back, and I think Graham Murty was there between like 98 and up until the late noughties, I think 2000 6, 7, and I think that's where you come into the times of Rossinia and obviously Griffin and so on. But definitely Stacey, as obviously he didn't really do much at Reading, unfortunately, wasn't given the opportunity, and obviously he's gone on to play in the Premier League and on a regular basis. So I could see a proper. So obviously from leaving Reading, that is definitely a decent. I would say a good shout for the right back position. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we agreed on Stacey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no worries.
Centre backs, we could have an absolute feast here. I think there's two that really stand out to me. Now I've gone with so obviously Reece Oxford is now out in the Bundesliga, but I wouldn't really pick him. Sonko probably had the peak of his career at Reading, but went on to, I think it was Stoke City for a season or two. Mariappa moved back to the Premier League, but I mean, his peak of his career was probably moving to kind of Reading and getting that opportunity in the Premier League. But yeah, I don't know. I put Sean Morrison there, but no, definitely not, because he was in the Premier League with Reading and been up since.
So Matt Mills was.
Matt Mills, I think he went to Leicester City, didn't he? Because we had the playoff final, and then he moved, and then didn't he have an affair or something? I can't remember what. Didn't something happen at Leicester City?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I probably made something up, so I'm sorry if I made anything up. But there was definitely something at Leicester City that happened that wasn't very good. And he didn't really. I don't think he went to the Premier League. If he stayed with us for one more season, he may have done.
Yeah.
But for Matt Mills, he had one chance to get to the Premier League and probably messed it up, because I think he moved from Doncaster and then he went to Leicester.
So probably not him then.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester didn't get promoted too far behind Reading, to be fair. But I think it was a couple of years later.
I was going to say, I think it was 14, wasn't it? I think they went up.
13, 14, I think it might have been, with Mahrez and Vardy and Drinkwater. I remember them getting promoted and then coming to the Madstad.
And Kante, wasn't he there then as well? And
not in the Championship.
Oh, was he not? Oh, right. Okay. He must have been the year after then.
Yeah, it's in.
Or year after that.
Yeah, it was the year after that. So they'd survived. And I think they got Kante, and I think he pretty much changed everything for them. So,
right. Okay.
Myasga, I think he's at Anderlecht now. Under, if Vincent Kompany is still the manager there, under him. So that's one of Belgium's best teams. He's there, and he's made quite a few appearances this season on loan. I think it's on loan. So fair play to him. Ilori actually went. Obviously, he was at Liverpool, but he didn't really play a lot for Liverpool. But he went to Sporting Lisbon, and I think he had a nightmare of a debut.
So they didn't like him over there.
No,
well, from what I read, anyways.
Hopefully, he's doing a bit better now, because I mean, I liked Ilori, but I don't know if he was good enough defensively. He was a strange case. Jake Cooper, but he hasn't really got to the Premier League, is he? Really? I mean, he's probably been at a more stable club than us. I mean, Millwall probably been more stable than us in the past couple of seasons. He may in the future move to the Premier League, because he's received a lot of plaudits for his performances in London. So he's an option. Michael Hector has gone to the Premier League with Fulham.
Yes, that's
true. But there's two here. So he just about made it. Matt Upson, who went on loan to Reading.
That's right. He went to play on to play for England, didn't he?
Yep, and scored in a World Cup for England in, I think it was the round of 16 against Germany. The only goal of the game for us, and Germany absolutely slapped us 4-1.
Right, okay.
That was horror show. That was a horror show.
2006, was it? Oh, no.
2010.
2010, that's it, yeah.
Because we had Upson with the headed goal, and then Lampard, who should have had his goal given.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
I remember that day, yeah.
Yeah. Another man I have to mention, because he's had a fantastic career since, and we all knew that he had the potential to do this, but Nathan Ake. at Man City right now. Did a very good job at Bournemouth and moved for like, was it 40 million or something from Bournemouth? I mean, that is pretty decent. I have to be honest. We all could see his potential though, even whether he's playing centre mid, left back, centre back. We knew he had the potential to go on and do something good. And that's the one good thing really from Steve Clarkson. I guess Chalobah also did all right. Yeah. So, but Ake was the standout for me. I thought he was excellent. So I mean, I've got two clear players here that top the lot. But who stands out for you?
Obviously, like you say, Ake went on to play for Man City and Bournemouth and that in the Premier League. Yeah, Upson is another option.
Yeah.
I
mean, those are my two.
If I would I'd probably go for Ake if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the two. Although saying that, Upson scoring a goal in the World Cup, that's not exactly to be sneezed at.
But to be honest with you, I have some good news for you because we're going to do two centre backs, definitely. So you can have both.
Oh, yeah. Okay, why not? Yeah.
I'll give you both. So we have McCarthy in goal, Bertrand at left back, Stacey at right back, and Upson and Ake at centre back. I mean, you could question Stacey, but you look at the rest of those players in their prime, and they're definitely Premier League players, established.
Yeah,
very good. So that's the back kind of five done. Centre mids. Who jumps out at you?
Steve Sidwell is one that really jumps out. Gylfi Sigurdsson, unless he's a bit further up, maybe.
No, I've put him in centre mid. I'm thinking of doing a 4-3-2-1, 4-2-3-1, and what we're going to do is we'll do the two centre, we'll do the two defensive mids, and then the attacking mid. I think we'll do. So I put centre mid in the same category, but it's basically two positions, and three players, room for three.
So, so are we talking about the defensive mids at the minute, or?
Yeah, we'll do defensive mids.
Yeah.
For now.
Okay, that's fine.
Sidwell, I've got on my list.
Yeah, he's definitely he's one that sort of. I'm trying to think now. Trying to think who we've had it.
I've got Ollie Norwood, who's gone on to play in the Premier League.
Aye, yeah.
I've got bit of a strange option, but Daniel Carrizo, who went on to win the Europa League with Sevilla, and was he was basically the first name on the team sheet, really. Definitely under Unai Emery, anyway, and that is quite an achievement for a player who's played at Reading. I think he wasn't he captain at Sporting Lisbon before he joined Reading, or I think he definitely played for Sporting Lisbon before he joined Reading, but to go on and win a Europa League is, that's pretty good, isn't it?
He's done it. I think, is it at least a couple of times or something?
Sevilla have won. I think Sevilla have won it once or twice. Unai Emery's definitely won it quite a few times anyway in the past few years, and that's the reason why I thought Arsenal would go on to win it, but that wasn't to be. But I think, I think Carrizo is probably a dead cert on there.
Yeah, I can't remember much about him, to be fair, which obviously shows his career at Reading and how it went.
He played 45 minutes, I think. I remember him playing 45 minutes against West Brom, being absolutely awful, and then being dragged off. Because I think we were 1-0 down at half time and then came back to win 3-2. That was an iconic game with Pog and
Rebia. Yeah, I remember that game. Okay.
I've got
no, sorry, go on.
I've got Nathaniel Chalobah. He played on loan at Napoli and has made an appearance for England, the senior team. That's another option there. Alex Fernandez, who plays in the first division or La Liga and scored against Barcelona, but I don't think he gets in there. Tishbola, he should have been better than he was. He's still playing at Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
Playing at Kilmarnock, and that's not bad, but he should have stayed at Reading. I think definitely.
I think. Yeah, because he
Sammy
moved to Villa, didn't he?
What did you say?
He moved to Villa, didn't he?
He did, yes.
For
under Di Matteo and Steve Clark.
Yeah. But
2015.
Right, okay. I knew it was. I remember him going to Villa. I couldn't remember when, but I was thinking, like, Sidwell, he went to Chelsea, didn't he? He moved to Chelsea at the end of 2007-8.
Yeah,
I think.
it didn't. No, it was 2000. It was the end of the 2006-7 season, because I think that's what relegated us in the end. We didn't have that. We didn't have Sidwell in midfield, and Maciejowski was, I think, is another option on here, because he went on to play for Sparta Prague quite a lot, and probably in turn played in Europe. Probably played quite a lot for his country as well.
Yeah, he was quite regular, I think.
But I didn't think he really managed to fit in very well like Sidwell did. He was probably too good in a way. I mean, a lot of people on Twitter have been saying it. That I remember seeing him, the goal against Liverpool, I remember quite vividly, because I remember seeing it back. There was a game that I went to, I think it was Blackburn at home in 2007-08, and he got sent off. I remember that. I think it was 2 bookable offences, because I think there were 2 innocuous challenges, and he got himself sent off. So, but Sidwell, I mean, he moved at the end of 06-07. But did he do very much at Chelsea? He was a good player. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I
what
don't
was
think
his
he did
peak?
much at Chelsea.
What would you say his career peak was? Because I think that will determine whether we have him in here.
I'll probably say Reading, if I'm honest.
Mm.
Go because I think he moved to us in about 2003 or something.
Yeah.
And he was there for a few years. But yeah, I think his best football was with us.
But you could make the case that Sidwell has done it in the Premier League. Well, I think it was for Fulham, for Aston Villa, for Chelsea, for Reading, more than Ollie Norwood has done in one season for Reading. But for Sheffield United. But the fact is, Norwood, we didn't take Norwood to the Premier League, did we? And Sidwell was part of our team in the Premier League. He's part of the 106 season, and he was part of the side that finished 8th.
Yeah.
In the Premier League. So I mean, it's a very tricky one, this one. I think there's one which is dead cert, which is Daniel Carrizo or Carrico. But I think the other spot in defensive midfield is definitely up for grabs. I mean, you could say Danny Williams had a season in the Premier League, like Norwood did. Yeah. Although, to be fair, the Sky Sports camera caught him undressed on the substitute bench. Do you remember that? Absolutely disgraceful scenes. You just see that. I think it was David Wagner, and saw in the background that Danny Williams had his thing out. Jem Carrigan played in the. We'll move on swiftly. Jem Carrigan played in Champions League, I think, once or twice for Galatasaray, but I mean, but that was about it, to be honest. I mean, he is playing for Scunthorpe now. Good player, Jem Carrigan, but don't think he's done it more consistently.
His main peak, I think, apart from that bit of time at Galatasaray, was probably with us, to be honest.
In the Premier League.
Yeah. I don't know. My mind is edging towards Nathaniel Chalobah. Like you say, he's played for England. He's played in the Premier League with Watford, I believe.
Yeah, I think he did play in the Premier League for Watford. Yeah, it's a difficult one because his career has kind of started and stopped, and he hasn't played for England since. That's another thing which might be a bit of a barrier. I mean, Maciejowski for Sparta Prague, and he might have played in the Europa League. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he played about over 100 times, maybe nearly 150 appearances, and that's, you know, one thing that you kind of regret at Reading is that we didn't make the most of him, because I think he played in 07, 08 and 08, 09, and then he pretty much left.
I was gutted. I liked him and that when he played. He was one of those sort of star names for us at the time, you know, that
I mean, we needed a replacement for Sidwell, and he was very good, but I don't know, just didn't fit in very well.
Yeah.
And he's probably played I think he probably made his debut for the Czech Republic. I think it was the Czech Republic, probably whilst he was still at Reading, because I think I remember him playing in the European Championships. They might have been, was it 2008 when Reading still had him, or was it 2012? Not 100% sure, but
I think it was 2008 we had him, that sort of time.
But the thing with Maciejowski is, I'm not sure if he was a fantastic club before he joined Reading. I'm not 100% sure who he came from.
Oh, I can't remember, to be honest.
If he was like someone like, if he came from somewhere like, you know, quite a notable club, then you would have thought that, and you would have wanted to remember it.
Yeah.
But no, this one is, I think, for me, one of the most difficult ones, really. I mean, who are you going to partner Carrizo with? I mean, you've got a point with Chalobah because he's played for England, but you could say Alex McCarthy's only played like once or twice for England, but Daniel Chalobah's not played too much for England. I think he came on as a sub, and maybe like McCarthy as well. I think he came on at half time, McCarthy, for someone, but you know, it's one of those where, you know, Sidwell's gone on to move to Chelsea, and if he'd played a lot more for Chelsea, I think I would have easily had him alongside Carrizo.
Yeah.
And I don't think Norwood's done it.
He hasn't
long enough.
Not really.
Fernandez hasn't really done anything notable. I mean, he scored against Barcelona, and I'm treating that like it's a little thing, but we haven't heard too much from him since he's kind of left Reading. I mean, great guy, but haven't heard much. Tishbola definitely not. For Johnson, he's played for Johnson played for, I think he's played for Iceland, but
not Ida Johnson, the other one, Brynjar
Johnson.
Oh,
Sammy for Johnson, who played for the academy.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember that name.
Yeah, I know. He went on to play for Iceland. I remember reading a piece on it. I think he's at Viking now in Norway, but Danny Williams has only done it for one season, and I think he was a bit part player. Jem Karajan hasn't played in the Champions League enough for me to pick him. So, I think it's between.
I was going to say, would you say Brynjar Gunnarsson is a defensive mid? Was he?
Yes. Gunnarsson, well, he could play centre mid or right back, but what did Gunnarsson do after Reading? I mean, obviously, managerially, he's been fine, but in terms of whatever, I mean, he was here until probably about 2012, I think, or 2013. I remember Gunnarsson being here on the final day of the promotion season, 2011-12.
Saying that, I think playing for Iceland, really, which he was doing while he was here as well. I suppose, I don't know, maybe career-wise.
You could probably say. I mean, I think people wouldn't dispute Ollie Norwood because we didn't take him to the Prem.
Yeah.
And you look at Chalobah and you're thinking, well, he's still in the same division as us now, and he only made like 1 or 2 caps for England. Steve Sidwell, that was fine, but he, to be fair, he probably stayed in the Premier League longer than us, which fair play to him, but his peak may have been at Reading. So it is a difficult one. I have to be honest with you. I could look at the centre, the attacking mid, and I could easily pick you out a name.
Yeah,
that I think would be undisputable. But so let's rule out some players then. So no to Karajan, no to Danny Williams, no to Frid Johnson, no to Tish Bowler, Sidwell, Chalobah, and Norwood, and Matiowski.
Would you think maybe Matiowski then, if he's played for Sparta Prague and Czech Republic on many occasions?
I would, yeah. I mean, you could argue. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm playing devil's advocate here, but you could argue that it's not as big as the Premier League. No.
True.
It's so difficult, isn't it? I think, if you're going to say he's definitely had a better career since he's moved on, I mean, what does he have? What is his CV in England? Or probably a relegation from relegation from the Premier League and then failing to win the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's probably his record out in Prague. Yeah, that's Czech Republic as well. I was just checking my geography there. His record out in the Czech Republic is probably a lot better. But you've still got Sidwell in there, who's played a lot of games in the Premier League. Chalobah, who's played a bit for England, and who has been at Napoli on loan. He only made a few appearances, but still, Napoli is Napoli.
Yeah,
but it's kind of now in the Championship, and you could say, well, Norwood is now in the Premier League. He's probably, he's obviously going to come back down with Sheffield United. There's no way they're not getting relegated, but Chalobah right now is still in the Championship. Although those roles could reverse because Watford themselves could go up.
Yeah, that's it.
It's supposed to be nothing really between them two, apart from an England cap. But you've got Norwood, who's made appearances at an international level. So difficult.
It is.
And Matiowski's played in the Premier League with us. So I'd probably go with Norwood, though. I don't know. Part of me wants to go with Norwood because we didn't take him to the Premier League. And you could see his potential and his range of passing. And
he was a quality player, but
he was part of a Sheffield United side, and he was probably, he's one of the first players on the team sheet. And they finished fifth or sixth, wasn't it? Or I can't remember where it was, but he finished quite high up the table in the end. And at one stage, I think they were fifth.
Yeah, last season they were quite high up, weren't they?
Yeah.
It's just this season they've struggled. To keep it up.
And they were talking about Champions League and Europa League at Sheffield United. I mean, that's mental, isn't it? Really. I mean, even if you think back to the days of when Warnock was there, when we were in the Premier League, obviously they got relegated straight away. So it just shows you that Sheffield United haven't been there for a very long time in that sort of position anyway. And Norwood is one of the first names on the team sheet. And I was expecting Norwood to do well with a top-end Championship side, 100%. But Premier League, really? Did we think Premier League was a long-term option for him? Maybe it isn't as long-term as he'd want it to be because Sheffield United are probably on the brink of getting relegated. But I don't know. I'm probably. I'd probably go with Norwood.
Yeah, he built a case for him, to be fair. He built a good case.
But are you happy with him in the starting 11? Because as Mark said, frustratingly, this has to be an agreed 11, and we need to make sure that we're both happy with Norwood.
He's definitely gone on to better things.
Yeah.
To be honest, so which is a shame, but it's the fact. And so yeah, you can't really.
If Chalobah had been going, if Chalobah had been going on to do it longer, and if he'd still been in the Premier League now, then I'd probably put him in there.
Yeah.
But again, he's another lone player, and I don't want to put too many lone players in here. We want some permanent members of the Reading team in here. So, are you happy? Because what we've got in the centre of midfield is 2 permanent Reading players. It's hard to believe that Carriço was actually a permanent signing, but he was. So, are we agreed on Norwood and Carriço?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Perfect. Okay, so those are 7 players done. Now, attacking mid.
I can't really think of Sigurdsson, to be honest. That's the only one I could think. He's played in Germany. He's played in for Everton and
Tottenham.
Premier League, Tottenham in the Premier League. He scored ample goals. Played for his country. He's played in European Championships and so on. I think with Iceland. Yeah, I can't think beyond him. To be fair.
Okay.
He's he's the one position that really sort of stands out.
Yeah, I think I don't think we could even argue.
No.
From what I'm thinking right now, I don't think we could really argue with that. We'll move on to the wingers then, or the wide attacking mids, as we like to call them in the 4-2-3-1.
Oh yeah.
The left side for me is a bit tricky. The right side for me isn't. Now, what I'm going to do is, because I think similarly to Carriço, who was a centre back at Sevilla, but I've put him in centre mid because he was a centre mid at Reading, definitely anyway. Definitely anyway against West Brom for the first 45 minutes before he was dragged off. I put him in central mid. Now, there's one player there who played right mid for Reading around the 2011-12 season, who I can't really look past for right mid. I mean, who do you think it would be?
There's 2 names that springs to mind, but I might be completely wrong.
Go on.
Either McAnuff or Kebe.
Not for me.
No.
The thing with McAnuff is, I don't think he went to a Premier League side after he got relegated with Reading, and then he just kind of slipped down to Leyton Orient. I think I'm not sure if he went straight to Leyton Orient, but he didn't do very much after Reading. I don't think really McAnuff. And Kebe, I mean, he did go to Crystal Palace, I think, but no, he within a season or 2 he was back with Brian McDermott on loan at Leeds United.
Okay.
But you're on the right tracks, though. You're on the right tracks.
Oh, you're making me think on a Friday night.
Yeah, I know. Long week. But what I would say is that he doesn't really He's also known for playing up front. I was about to say the name of the team. Then that'll give it away. In the Premier League.
Is he still playing?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, sugar. I'm probably going to kick myself when you tell me the name.
Do you want me to tell you the name, or do you want me to give you another clue?
Go on, give us a clue then, just to.
Okay, so in the 2011-12 season, he was a bit part player, and he was a winger for us. He was often on the bench as well for Reading.
Oh, no, I'm done.
Antonio.
Yes.
West Ham.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean now. Yeah, no, he's done amazing.
Yeah, I think he came from Tooting and Mitcham, I think, or a play at some sort of non-league side, and then he went to, I think it was Sheffield Wednesday, and he really impressed there.
Yeah.
And then he went on and done fantastically well at West Ham. But did you? I saw the ability there. I saw you could see it was like Yaku Meite's first season, like that raw ability. But did you think he could go on to the Premier League, Antonio, or did you think he would, be in the Championship but not quite there?
I think perhaps I thought he might have been like Championship level, but fair play to him. I watch him now sometimes when he plays for West Ham, and like that's one that got away.
Yeah.
And but no, I totally agree. Antonio has definitely gone on to be a fantastic player, and yeah.
You look through the players there. You've got McCarthy at his peak is definitely a Premier League footballer.
Yeah.
Obviously, got a cap for England. Bertrand, definitely a Premier League player, international. Ake, definitely a Premier League player, Manchester City player. Upson, definitely a Premier League player, scored at a World Cup for England. Stacey, I don't know. That's one of those positions where it's hard to get a player that's really, excelled in a top division. You've got Carrizo there who, didn't adapt very well to the Premier League, wasn't really given a lot of chance by McDermott or Adkins. But I thought that, if you're winning a Europa League with Sevilla, then, you've got to beat some good as a starter. Oliver Norwood, well, got promotion and didn't he play? I think he moved to Brighton. He might have got promoted there and then got sent back to the Championship and then got promoted with Sheffield United and then played there. So
he did. He's had two promotions.
So maybe that strengthens our case for a Norwood Carrizo combination.
Yeah, I forgot about Brighton.
Yeah, so Norwood on his day definitely, has played for a club that was once fifth in the Premier League. So you've got that. You've got Sigurdsson. Well, you can't really say you can't say anything else. But Sigurdsson is fantastic.
Absolutely.
You've got Antonio in there, who is definitely also a Premier League player and a real goal scoring threat.
Absolutely.
Are we agreed then on Antonio for the right wing, or have you got any more candidates? No, I'm not. I can't think of anyone else really. I mean, Kebe didn't have a great career after he left it. I think he went to Mallorca at some stage, but I don't know about that. I mean, he moved back to the Premier League, but his peak was at Reading, I think. And
I think, I can't argue with Antonio, to be fair.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone, maybe earlier on, maybe pre 106 that may have been on the right wing, but you've got Bobby Convey in there, who was a good player but didn't do very much.
Yeah, Glenn Little didn't go on that much.
McAnuff, I mean, he's played both on the left and the right. That reminds me, McCleary, has gone on to Wickham, hasn't gone on to better things, I'm afraid. After being so fantastic in the first and second season, he kind of tailed off a bit. So that was a massive shame. And a lot of these other players I'm considering for the left instead, but the left for me, it's not very appealing.
Right.
I mean, what I've got here on the left wing, and people are probably going to be shouting at us right now because there's probably a lot more players on the left wing or the right wing that we've missed out. But I was going to say Mo Barrow is one of them because he went to South Korea and won a title there with his club. Tariq Fosu has gone on to a more, well, he obviously took the step down and then has gone to Brentford, and he's we have to be honest, a more financially sensible and stable club. And it's like, I think Brentford are like Leeds. You can tell that it's only going to be a matter of time before Brentford finally get up there. I mean, they are bottlers, but weren't Leeds United as well. Do you know what I mean? Even under Bielsa.
Yeah.
Now for me, Fosu, I said back in, what was it, 2016, I think it might have been, or 2015, that we needed to keep hold of him, and we didn't. But
I think
maybe that's my academy bias, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think even though he's at Brentford, he's still gone on to better things. If that's sort of, even though they're in the same league, like you say, he's gone on. He's one of their sort of, I believe, he's one of the key players of Brentford at the moment.
I mean, I don't want to self-deprecate with Reading, but we're looking at this season. If we don't get into the playoffs this season, we're not sure where we're going to be in 2021, 2022 campaign. Whereas with Brentford, okay, they might sell their best players, which is a bit of a nuisance for them. And obviously, Ollie Watkins got himself on the score sheet the other day against San Marino, so that that just shows the amount of good players that they have. And obviously, they keep on selling their players, but business-wise, they're better, and they're probably better equipped now to go up because obviously their new stadium as well. So there's one option that we have. There's another person here, like Antonio, who played up front predominantly in recent years, but the peak of his career probably came just after he was released by Reading, or maybe just before, and that was Hal Robson-Kanu with his Cruyff turn against Belgium in Euro 2016. But I don't think he's really gone on to do absolutely fantastic things. I mean, yes, he's been in the Premier League a bit, but do I think he's reached his peak now? Definitely. And I think there's a lot more to come from Fosu. Robson-Kanu, I don't know about Robson-Kanu. I mean, when he wanted to be good, he was very good. But when he was bad, he was bad. But in Euro 2016, he was exceptional at times. And that was a frustrating thing because he was obviously playing for, and you could say for Robson-Kanu, he was with a side that got to the semi-finals against all odds of a European Championship. Now, it could have been like Greece in 2004 if Wales had won against Portugal on the day and then went on to get the winner, which was completely possible. But obviously they were coming up against France. I think it was France. So maybe it was a bit of a stretch, but and you could argue that he's done more than Tariq Fosu, but for me, I think Fosu has a lot more. He has a lot more to go.
He's got the potential, hasn't he, to go further?
More in the tank, I think.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I was just thinking. So, yeah, Fosu is a decent candidate.
I'm going to throw two more names at you before I ask you if you've got any more. Stephen Hunt, who went on to, I think it was Hull City.
Yeah, he did.
I think he might have been under Phil Brown when he did that. I remember that halftime team talk on the pitch at the Etihad. I think it was Manchester City versus Hull City, and Phil Brown was not happy with the performance. And what did he wear? That those headphones, or that, I can't remember what they call it, but he had like the microphone here, and he was like on the touchline like this. No idea what Phil Brown was doing. Wasn't an orthodox Premier League manager, to be honest, but fair play to him for what he's done for what he did with Hull. But there's another name here which is a bit left field, but I guess that's a bit kind of fitting really that he's a left midfielder and it's a bit of a left field candidate. But Johnny Hayes, who was a youth player at Reading, but went on to Scotland, played for Aberdeen, played a lot for Celtic, and is now back at Aberdeen, and has actually had quite a successful career up in Scotland. And the reason why I included him is because he did absolutely nothing really for Reading, but has done actually quite a lot for Scottish football. Now, I know it's a bit of a strange one, but it's another person to consider and another kind of player to rack our brains over. But I think the left wing is hard. I mean, as I said, there's probably people shouting at us right now saying, why haven't you included this player and this player? And we'll get off the podcast and think, oh, why didn't we include him? Why didn't we include him? It's probably going to make it even worse that Mark's going to create a graphic of this and then put it up on Twitter with probably people who will point out different things. But that's welcomed because we can make the starting 11 even better with some suggestions on it, and I'm sure that Mark will probably update it if there's anyone there or any obvious candidates that we should have included. But I mean, you look at the left wing over time. Obviously, we have McAnuff during the promotion years. Mo Barrow, obviously, I mentioned. Obviously, he doesn't create headlines though because he's in South Korea, but it's an option. Can't think of other people in the left mid position.
I think Stephen Hunt is another decent show, actually.
Because he went on to play for, I think he went on to play for Hull City, but then he went on to Wolves, and I'm not sure if Wolves were up at the time, because I thought they got relegated reasonably quickly. But then we had the likes of Hanneman there, Doyle there, who I think both went there when they were in the Premier League, but I'm not sure if Hunt was there when they were still in the top tier. But did he create headlines, Stephen Hunt? I mean, I guess you could say none of them, except from Robson Carney with his Cruyff turn, created any headlines.
Yeah,
but
true.
we don't judge. I don't think we can judge it just by headlines. I'm sure we've missed a couple of players out. That can't be it, surely, as our pool for left wing. There's no insult to the players, but you'd expect someone like Antonio to be there on the left.
Yeah.
There might have been even trainees there. But, I'm not sure. Because there might have been trainees that came to train with Reading for like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe like a Lionel Messi or something, and then left, but obviously he didn't.
No, yeah.
But, you get the drift. I don't know, the one person, I think the two people that are jumping out at me, one is probably Hayes because he's made a career for himself in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
The other person I think has to be, I think one other person for me has to be Tarek Fosu, because we knew that he was going to be good. I think every Reading fan knew he was going to be good, but I don't think I don't think he was even released. I think we sold him to Charlton Athletic, if I remember rightly, and I think Callum Harriott came in the opposite direction. I don't think it was a swap deal, but I think it was the same summer, because I think Yap Stam had just come, and maybe I would have. I thought Roy Behrens was actually a half decent, but would you have played Tarek Fosu in hindsight to develop over? But then again, Behrens contributed quite a number of goals, quite a number of vital goals. So, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. I'd shout for Fosu, to be honest.
Would you say that any of them have really? I mean, Hayes definitely has done better, but do you look at the other ones and go, they definitely had a better career since leaving Reading? Because Robson Carney was in the Premier League with Reading. Obviously, he played more in the top tier, but I don't know. I think Fosu is probably a shout for me if you're happy with that.
Yeah. No, definitely. Okay.
So I think what we should ask Mark to do when he does upload the team is to get him to watch the podcast, because there's a lot of candidates in there who they probably would be saying, but it'd be good for them to know that we've considered them, but we've probably gone with Fosu for this one. Up front, there's a lot of candidates. Well, a few candidates anyway. I think there's some here which I put down which are definitely not gone on to do better things yet. Danny Loader. I put him down there because he's gone to Porto B. Probably not better than Reading, but for the fact that he's gone to Porto, and he could have done a lot better. Maybe he will have that impact in Portugal next season. But I think I remember seeing something from Sam Rourke the other day from Football League World saying that he's open to a move back to England.
Right,
which is a very interesting one. So I recommend you guys go and check that one out, because that will be quite an interesting read for people to wonder that because we thought when Loader went to Portugal he might be there for the long term, considering he's probably up to sticks and moved. So that will be an interesting one for people to read. So I definitely recommend that one to people. I was trying to include some players here because there isn't too many from like the early noughties. I was thinking of Darius Henderson, who he was fine, but he was in the Championship definitely for Nottingham Forest anyway, and other teams. But I don't think we can really. I don't think we can really consider him. Nathan Tyson went on to play for Nottingham Forest, but I don't think we can consider him either, considering the other candidates that I do have. Charlie Austin, can we really count him? I mean, I think he might have been on the books at Reading, because I think he was released because he was told that he was too short, which is very relatable. But I think for me, Austin probably isn't on there just for the fact that, I don't know, it's a bit. He wasn't clearly on Reading's books. Obviously, he was probably on there, but like not too clearly. And maybe it doesn't help that that I've supported the club since 05, 06 or whatever. So it's 06, 07. So maybe that's another thing that's hindering my judgment on that one. I made a grammar mistake here. I put Benik Adobe. No, I mean Benik Afobe, because I was thinking about Adobe Premiere Pro. But Benik Afobe, I mean, he could have done more. It felt like he could have done more for me. That's what I believe. I think he could have been a big success in the Premier League. He's like one of those big hitters in the Championship, or was anyway, one of those big hitters in the Championship, but didn't quite do it in the Premier League. Maybe like Dwight Gale, in that sort of sense. Other candidates that I've got now, Glenn Murray, who is now in the Championship, I think, with Nottingham Forest now.
Yeah.
Because he was with Watford, I think, last season. And didn't he score at Stamford Bridge not too long ago either in the Premier League? So that's another option that we could explore. And he also did very well at Brighton. Was consistent and started and scored a lot for Brighton. So that is a legitimate option. Billy Sharp was good, was proven when he came to Reading, but did he do it in the Premier League before he came to Reading? Not really. He has since with Sheffield United. Matej Vidra at Burnley right now. We knew his potential, but is he really a legitimate candidate? Probably, but we'll wait and see on that one. Nelson Oliveira. I mean, he's at Athens right now, and his side are probably competing for Europe, the Europa League at this moment in time. But I'd have to double check that. I know he's at Athens, and they're probably not too far away. But has he gone on to have a better career? I mean, he's always had that potential for me.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's one of the reasons why I'd be hesitant in kind of picking him. Who else? Orlando Sarr is at Malaga right now. He was at Standard Liège, which was a good step up for him anyway. But now he's at Malaga, which is not bad, is it? If you're playing against the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, that's not too bad at all, really, is it? There's one that I think there's one more you could definitely include. Shane Long, who's played in the Premier League consistently.
Yeah.
Who I think played in the Europa League with Southampton. And I think to date has scored the fastest ever goal in the Premier League. So whilst he was in the Premier League with us, he was kind of only a fringe player, I believe. Well, he was like a sub for us in 07, even up to 07, 08. I mean, he probably started a couple of games, but I remember him vividly for his winner. I think it was against, was it Newcastle? Where he came on and then automatically, literally like 10 seconds later, came on and got the winner for us. So I think, you could see Long as definitely that kind of substitute in 07, 08. And then you look at 08, 09, and you look at the, players like, obviously Kitson had gone at that time because he'd gone to Stoke City.
Yeah, that's true.
There's actually a story about the way he left on BBC Berkshire with A.D. Williams, one of his podcasts. So go and listen to that about John Majeski saying that he's not going to offer him another contract or something. That he couldn't afford to keep him. Something along those lines. Anyway, it was definitely to do with finances, and that was probably kind of one of the big factors in Majeski's premiership really at Reading. But in 08-09, you had Kevin Doyle, you had Noel Hunt, who came to the Royals, who played alongside his brother, and those were probably the two obvious options really off the bench, but to play up front with each other. Although Long did play quite a bit there. Leroy Lita as well was still at the club, but didn't play too much.
Yeah,
I remember him scoring. He came on and scored against Watford. I think it was a 4-0 win, and that was good. But I don't think he played too much that season, if I remember rightly. I remember him coming back, and it was kind of like a hero's reception. So it must have been one of those things where he'd come back. But then Shane Long really started to kind of start for us. I think it was 09, 010 really with Rodgers and with McDermott. Because I remember him scoring the winner against Liverpool at Anfield. Now, I think he'd come on as a sub, because who he had in front of him was Simon Church and Grzegorz Raziak. Now, it'd be hard for people to believe now that he was behind Simon Church and Raziak in the pecking order against Liverpool. But he was that night, and I think came on as a substitute. So, and definitely in the 2010-2011 season, he was a massive part of it, and I think that's pretty much what got him his move to West Brom in the end, who were in the Premier League, and he pretty much left after the playoff final. I think he played like once in the 2011-12 season for Reading, but quickly moved on after that. So he missed the promotion season, which was a massive shame for him. But no, maybe that's the reason why we started off so slow, is because we lost Shane Long. And that season, we'd won like 15 out of 17 games in the latter stage to get up. So maybe that was one of the reasons why we started off so slow. But for me, the fact that he's played for his country quite a lot, the fact that he played, I think, in the Europa League, the fact that he's been a consistent Premier League player with Southampton and West Brom and that, he may be back at AFC Bournemouth now, but he's had a pretty decent crack at the Premier League. So that's probably my prime candidate. But have you got anyone else, or anyone from my original list that you would consider going up against Shane Long? So we've got Danny Loader. I don't think so. Oliveira, probably not. Orlando Sarr, who's now at Malaga. Vidra, who's now at Burnley. Murray, who did quite well at Brighton. Sharp, who did well at Sheffield United and finally got his chance in the Premier League. Afobe, probably not. Tyson, no. Henderson, no. Austin, we've probably already ruled out. So, I mean, it's probably between Long, Oliveira, maybe not, Sarr, Vidra, although we always knew he had the potential but didn't quite translate that at Reading. And did I say Glenn Murray, who's done it at Brighton? And maybe Billy Sharp, but maybe he hasn't done it enough.
Yeah, I think probably Shane Long, if I'm honest. You know, because like you say, you know, he's played for his country. He's played consistently for many years in the Premier League with West Brom and Southampton. And obviously, like, you know, you can't really, I don't think anyway, he's sort of the standout candidate for that one, I think, to be honest.
I've missed out Kevin Doyle, but he only played like for 1 or 2 seasons at Wolves, and you know, I think the peak of his career came at Reading, and I think it's the same with Kitson, because he went to Stoke, but I think he even said on the AD Williams podcast that he didn't really enjoy it as much, or it didn't really click. And I think Kitson's real home was at Reading, and I think it's kind of similar with Kevin Doyle, but I think Long has gone on to actually do all right. I know that his heart is probably at Reading, Shane Long, but because it's the club that really gave him his chance kind of on the main stage, but he's done well and stayed in the Premier League for a lot longer than us. Yeah, we may have got back up in 2012-13, but that was only for 1 season. He's been a consistent Premier League player for quite a while now, even if he's not starting all the time. So, so are we agreed on Long?
Yeah, I think so.
I think a lot of people would argue that that we perhaps could have taken Norwood out. Actually, maybe not Norwood. Or maybe so. Yeah, maybe taken Norwood out and had Antonio and Long up front, but I don't know. But the thing is, Antonio was a right winger when he came to Reading and when he played for Reading. So that's where I'm going to stick him. And I think he'd still do a good job there, even though he plays up front a lot of the time for West Ham, I believe. So, yeah, I think we're agreed on that. What we'll do is, before we run through everything, we'll do manager. Now, I have 3 candidates here. What do you think the 3 candidates are? And feel free to add any of your own.
For manager?
Yes.
Brendan Rodgers for one.
Yep.
Nigel Atkins, perhaps?
Nope. For me, no. Did all right. I think it was Sheffield United. Did all right. Hasn't done anything good, really. I think, you know, the real peak for him was probably getting those 2 promotions up at Southampton, then managing the Premier League a bit for Southampton and Reading. What's he done since that's overcome that?
No, that's true. Oh, God.
Since 2000.
2000. Was that Alan Pardew?
Yep.
Alan Pardew.
Yep. That's one. Third one is maybe a bit of a strange candidate, but, you know, I think he, you know, considering he's done what he's done, maybe, yeah, it would definitely be a step up for him. He's one of our more recent managers in the 2010s.
McDermott?
Nope. No. He went on to Leeds. Well, Leeds fans will be saying yes because he's managed them, but no, he was in the Championship with Leeds United. Can't do this. Can't do that. Nope.
Trying to think of the managers. We've had so many managers.
Yeah.
Steve Clark.
Yes, that's my third one because he's went on to manage Scotland.
Yeah.
Obviously, he went on to manage Kilmarnock, which for me, you know, I don't know if that's bigger. Maybe so, because I think he finished quite high up with them in the Scottish League. And I'm not going to disrespect the Scottish League, but I don't know. But he went on to manage his national team. So, you know, for me, I think he comes in third place, though. We'll do a third. Have you got any more candidates before we go into the third, second, and first?
Not really.
Because so we've had Koppel, who kind of fizzled out after. He probably wanted to fizzle out after Reading, but kind of did.
Yeah.
McDermott, who obviously went back as a scout at Arsenal, managed Leeds, but
yeah,
no, he's got to say the best years of his career have been at Reading. Atkins, yeah, as I said, hasn't done too much. since then. McDermott at V2, as I said, no, hasn't done that much. Yapstam, not really. I think probably the best achievement of his career was getting Reading to third, or managerial achievement anyway. Managerial achievement anyway. Not his playing days. I can't legitimately say that playing for Manchester United is less worthy than playing for the managing Reading, because I have some Manchester United fans on me. But he hasn't done anything. No, he has got a couple of more jobs, which I've got to respect him for. But no, for me, Stam at his peak anyway. Right now, I know he managed Feyenoord and that out in, I think it was Eredivisie, but no, I think his best moments have been Reading. I think probably the best moment of his career was that playoff semi-final, second leg against Fulham, where we got to the final. I think that's probably the best moment of his managerial career anyway. Paul Clement, I'm not going to say anything about that. No. Awful. And he's also been like an assistant manager against, alongside Ancelotti in that. So, previous. So I don't think even if he did afterwards, and I don't think we can really count that at all, really. Maybe you could have the same case for Carrizo, who played for Sporting Lisbon, but, it's, we'll make the rules and we'll make them up as we go along, so it's fine. Who else was after him? Gomez. He's been a bit of a journeyman. The thing is, he's managing Almeria now, I think, in the... I'm not sure if it was the first or the second division of Spanish football, but he's been doing all right, I think. He's got a pretty decent reception out in Spain. Previously anyway. And I think his assistant managers are Mendonca, who kept on getting the yellow cards for Reading on the touchline. I think the other assistant manager might be Andre BK, which is very strange. I'm going to have to double check that, but I do believe Andre BK is involved in the setup there. I remember BK coming back for Charlton Athletic playing, and he was a monster that day. So goes to show you, really, doesn't it? But no, I can't say that he would be in there. Mark Bowen, definitely not, because he hasn't had a position since. He was on the second tier podcast the other day, which I still need to listen to. Now that I've forgiven the second tier podcast for their digs at Reading. Well, not their digs, but their assessments. I'm just too petty to listen to negatives about Reading, I have to be honest. But no, fair play to them in all fairness. It's good that we have some realism about the situation. And we're on to the present day with Kapanovic. So I think the three managers for me are Alan Pardew, Brendan Rodgers, Steve Clarke. Who comes third for you?
Probably, I don't know. Maybe Steve Clarke.
I think I'd go with the same. I think the one major pull of Steve Clarke is the fact that he's managed his national team, which is huge. But Pardew has probably been in the Premier League for longer. Well, he definitely has been in the Premier League a lot longer than Steve Clarke has. And obviously, I haven't really seen Pardew about recently. I don't know if you have, but I've heard a lot about him recently. I mean, he's had a bit of a disaster. I think, the last time he was managing the Premier League, he had a bit of a disaster, maybe with Crystal Palace. I think it didn't end very well, and he's one of those managers that goes on the merry-go-round. So, but no, I think he comes ahead of Clarke for me. So third is Steve Clarke, second out of Rodgers and Pardew. I think I know what you're going to say, but
it'll be Pardew.
Yeah, second has to be Pardew for me. I mean, he was. I wasn't supporting the club at the time Pardew was here, but from what I understand and what I've heard and what I've researched on, he changed a lot at Reading. He got us up a lot of divisions, and
he did.
I think probably modernised the football club.
He was part of the academy, one of the academy managers or something at the time, and he moved up to
Mm. He was probably revolutionary in the sense that he was modern. But I'd have to ask other people about that who were fully there at the time in the 2000 to 2001 when I was just still in a cot. But I'd have to wait and see what they would say about it. So the first place has to be Brendan Rodgers, the man who nearly got Liverpool to a Premier League title, the man who's overachieving. Well, I think Leicester are a decent side, but to get them to where they are, I think that's a good achievement for Brendan Rodgers and just the football that he's played. And considering he was at Watford and he came to Reading and we were absolutely dire under him for a large part of it. I could see what he was trying to do with passing. He was dire for a large part of it. And then goes on to Swansea City, beats us in the playoff final, goes to the Premier League, absolutely smashes it in the Premier League and makes Swansea a team that was kind of established in the Premier League at the time. You could tell they were going to stay there for a couple of seasons, especially under his leadership. And then he goes to Liverpool. Of course, most managerial tenures at clubs end in failure, and it did, obviously with a famous Thierry Henry moment where he placed his hand on the thigh of Jamie Carragher. But for what he did whilst he was there, I thought Brendan Rodgers was actually pretty decent and is doing very. And obviously, just even forgetting his time, I've skipped straight from Liverpool to Leicester, but let's have a look at his time in Scotland with Celtic.
Yeah,
is it 9 in a row? I mean, just unbelievable.
No, definitely.
You've got to say he's been fantastic. And wasn't he here as either a coach or a player at Reading at one stage? I think he might have been a player at Reading at one stage. And then he kind of came back.
Early 90s?
Maybe so, yeah.
I think maybe the early 90s.
But wasn't that the same with Mark Bowen? Or was that Graham Potter? Or was it both?
Graham Potter definitely was as well, I think.
Yeah. It went from Ostersunds to Swansea, I think it was, and then Brighton. But I think for me it has to be Brendan Rodgers in there. So let's run through as we finish this podcast. Now, I'll probably put my own sort of graphic together and send it to Mark, and then he'll create his own probably. But we'll run through who we've got in the 4-2-3-1 formation. So we have McCarthy in goal, Bertrand, Upson, Ake, Stacey. In defence, defensive midfield, Carrizo and Norwood. Sigurdsson attacking mid. Fosu on the left wing, Antonio on the right, Shane Long up front, and Brendan Rodgers as our manager.
Yep.
That side's got to stay up, isn't it? I mean, of course, you've got the weaknesses there. Maybe not even weaknesses, but you've got players there who haven't got Fosu hasn't got Premier League experience and Stacey only has a limited amount. And obviously you've got Norwood, who perhaps only has a limited amount, but was still part of a good Premier League side. And you've got Carrizo there who, may need time to adapt to the Premier League or adapt back. But in their peak, do you think that side stays up? I think it does.
Definitely good shout. When you've got, like you say, Antonio and Fosu and Shane up front, and a decent midfield as well, and it's definitely a good shout.
I think what I would, if I was a manager, I'd probably get a right back and a left winger if I was there. In terms of the first 11, that's who I'd have. I mean, I'm not sure what the bench would look like. I mean, the bench would probably look half decent with the amount of players we've got, like Sidwell and Hector and Mariappa and Nicky Chori, Martinez, those sorts of players. So, we've got some decent enough options off the bench, but maybe it'd be about squad depth as well. But you look at the manager, Brendan Rodgers, and he would probably do a decent amount with the players that he has at his disposal. Now, he didn't do a lot at Reading, but you've got to look at his record since, and this is the the team that has gone on to have a better career since they left Reading, and I think Rodgers is the epitome of that again. Well, I can't find the word for it, but the real, the man who sums it all up. A classic example.
Epitomizes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I'll use that word. That's better than I have, but yeah. So we've done the team, and I think Mark will release a graphic on that. But if you want to know the team again, just rewind back and listen to that. You know where the teams are, where the players will play. Obviously, you've got McCarthy in goal, Bertrand at left back, right back Stacey, centre backs Upson and Ake, defensive mids Cariso and Norwood, attacking mid Sigurdsson, left attacking mid or left wing Fosu, right wing, and Antonio, seeing as he played there when he played for Reading, and Shane Long up front, and Brendan Rodgers as the manager on the touchline. So yeah, I mean, we would have done a bench, and probably would have done some coaching staff, but it's a Friday night, and it's been a long week, and but no, overall it's been very enjoyable. That kind of brings this podcast to an end. I have no idea how long we've been on here, but I feel like I'm losing my voice ever so slightly, so might have been on here quite a long time, but I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We'll probably be back next Monday to review the Barnsley game. Wait, no, we won't. Yes, we will, actually, because it will probably be released on Monday. This will probably be released on Monday, and then the next Monday after the Barnsley game, we'll probably be back for a review of that. But yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. You probably have some better names than perhaps maybe even we come up with, and we'll probably kick ourselves when you do come up with some of the names that we could include in there. But thank you once again, David, for coming on and joining and putting this team together with me. I think we're generally in consensus about all the names in there. So thank you for coming once again.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Robbos Gobcast. We'll be back again. I think it'll mainly be post-match reviews on a Monday, because I don't think we have too many games that are midweek, but I'll have to wait and see on that one. We've definitely got one, I think, against Luton on one of the last games of the season, but they'll mainly be Monday podcasts. But again, hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we can get a win against Barnsley, and all that's left to say really apart from that, and you'll probably see my fingerprint there we go, you'll see my thumb as I stop the recording. Come on, you are